What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the TB Toycast YouTube channel, and today we are unboxing from Major and the Big Rubber Guys. It is the one and only All Ego Ethan Page. Really excited about this one. I think Ethan, with the exception of Matt and Brian, who owned the company, was the first kind of current day guy we got in the Big Rubber Guys. So I know that was a little controversial for some. Some were not into it. Some absolutely loved it. I loved it, and I'll tell you why. Because Ethan, like us, is a toy guy, so I thought, oh, that's perfect. Let's do that. I know his toy vlog. I don't think he does it anymore now that he's with the WWE, which is also interesting because this came out at right in between his two contracts. We weren't able to get that anymore, so maybe that'll come back at least under a WWE umbrella at some point. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, All Ego Ethan Page. He's got his signature point. He's got his jacket. I mean, I think this thing is a home run. And Ethan Page, I know, a big toy guy. Oddly enough, I don't think he's necessarily like a big wrestling figure guy. He collects a lot different stuff, which I always think is kind of interesting. That he is in wrestling, but is not necessarily a wrestling figure guy. But loves hitting vintage toy shops, as I do. So since I found his vlog, I was like, oh, I gotta know more about this. I gotta get into this. Very, very cool stuff. But been a huge fan of the Big Rubber Guys for a long time. This one, of course, went up for pre-order, I think, last June. So I'm a ways out on getting these guys unboxed. I'm only doing 3 videos a week, though, and I've kind of told myself, well, I could do more videos every week, but that ultimately comes into more work, and it just it's tough sometimes. So I try to limit myself and still have fun with it, and just kind of decide, okay, well, I'll wait a little bit and I'll unbox this when it's time. But yeah, very, very cool looking figure. Look, of course, the resealable packages on this. I know about a year, I don't know, maybe it was this actual order, yeah, because it was the Road Warriors. A lot of issues with the plastic ripping. As you can tell, this one is in great shape, so no issues there. Let's look at that roster on the back, though, man. That thing is getting deep. As we know, of course, Matt and Brian basically started the company, so it makes sense that they were in Series 1. We got Axe and Smash and Demolition, which was really cool. Sergeant Slaughter, Marty Jannetty, and Ric Flair in Wave 3, Andre the Giant and the Macho Man Randy Savage in Wave 4, the British Bulldogs with Matilda in Wave 5, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Magnum TA, Wave 6, and then I think after that, that was like our last 2-figure wave, and it's blown up since then. Then we got Dusty Rhodes and the Powers of Pain, and then a 4-figure wave, which was unprecedented. Hawk, Animal, Matt Hardy, and All Ego Ethan Page. I do believe they made the statement, I think it was just going to be Hawk, Animal, and Matt Hardy in this wave, and they committed to those, and then Ethan Page became available, and so they rushed it because they knew, or I'm sure they had an idea, as I open this bad boy up, he was headed to NXT. So this was definitely a timing issue because he went to NXT right after his contract with AEW ended, and yeah, that thing is absolutely in great shape. No complaints there. It very quickly showed up in NXT, but got a Big Rubber Guy in the meantime, so you can't beat that. I think that's really, really cool. Now, this is going to be also interesting because very sturdy, very, very solid. I know a lot of these felt a little bit hollow recently, but definitely not Ethan Page. Very, very sturdy, very thick figure. Love the pose. Like I said, I feel like this kind of reminds me of almost like the LJN Don Morocco from back in the day, where he's just kind of hey, almost has that cocky look to him, except Ethan's doing the dimple point. But he's got his ring jacket on, which I think is a nice touch, because sometimes LJNs did have their ring jackets on, but I love the detail. I love the detail of the trunks underneath. All his logos on the jacket. I mean, this thing is awesome. This thing is absolutely fantastic. Of course, Ethan Page is now the NXT North American champion, which I think he kind of made the belt Canadian style, which I think is hilarious, and that hopefully that becomes a figure. But Ethan Page also could potentially get something that a lot of people haven't gotten. I think Dusty Rhodes is the only so far. Could he potentially get a Big Rubber Guy and an LJN? Obviously, Dusty Rhodes is in the new LJN line. He's going to be in Series 1 that they announced at SDCC. And Ethan Page, now under a deal with the WWE, obviously has one elite. Well, actually has 2 elites out because one's a chase figure. But, I don't think he'll necessarily be in Wave 3 or even Wave 4. But it's possible down the road that we get an Ethan Page LJN. How crazy would that be? I know guys like him. I'm sure a lot of the guys that are kind of in that generation would absolutely love seeing a LJN figure of themselves. I know AJ Styles made a point to talk about a few years back that he really wanted one of those He-Man figures because he loved He-Man as a kid. And of course, they had the Masters of the WWE Universe, and they never made AJ Styles. It's like, what are you doing? That would have been a layup, especially for someone that's into it. I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, I think these are great, man. I love the big rubber guys. I feel like this nostalgia has really turned a corner for a lot of people, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of people have told us this really wasn't possible anymore with the cost of the weight, because this is not a light figure. And with the weight and everything else, it just wasn't going to be financially viable. And Major made it happen, and I think that's really, really cool. So hopefully we see more of this down the road, because I think this is awesome. Obviously, the big rubber guys are huge right now, and I know that they're expanding in other brands. We're going to get MLB mascots coming up, which is not something that was on my bingo card, but I'm super excited about that. And Mr. Met and Philly Fanatic will be unboxed on here. That is not a prediction, as Paul Heyman says. That is a spoiler, because I think that's really, really cool. Obviously, they have a deal inked with AEW, and so we're going to see Sting down the road, along with Timeless Tony Storm, Will Ospreay, and Hangman Adam Page, all in their first wave. But I think really what that means, though, if you think about it, in terms of what this encompasses, nobody's off the table, right? Like with any line, there's always like someone that's off the table. But with Major being able to basically sign anyone they want, having a deal set up with AEW, and now LJN having LJN being a part of Mattel, or Mattel bringing back LJN to do these style, like who's off the table? Really nobody. Like obviously the guys that are not under Mattel Legends deals, like Macho Man or Randy Savage, the Road Warriors, Ric Flair, they all have big rubber guys, which should pair up very nicely with these. But then guys that are probably never going to leave a WWE Legends deal, Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or all have LJNs coming. So it's really kind of crazy to think, like, you'll be able to pair up that Sting with the Ultimate Warrior, and they should pair up perfectly, hopefully. I mean, obviously the LJNs are not in hand yet, so we don't know, but that's kind of crazy to think, right? It really is pretty wild, and I'm almost 40 years old. I'll be 40 years old in a couple of months. I never would have guessed in my wildest dreams that I would have seen an LJN Ultimate Warrior return in 2025. Like, if you'd have told me, like, a couple of years ago that will be happening, no. Maybe they'll bring it back, but they won't be as good. They won't look as good. I never would have guessed it would be, like, almost a carbon copy. That's crazy to think. So, it really is going to be LJN Mania. Now, here's a question I challenge all of you guys with. Obviously, Retro Mania ran wild. And it started pretty much, I feel like, when Mattel brought back Retros. They brought them back, I think, in 2016. And I was blown away. I remember I was out of town, hanging out with some friends, Comic-Con, pretty much all the announcements had been made. It was cool, no big deal. And I'm at a Six Flags theme park, and I just happened to get on Instagram, and I saw, of course, the sun's beating down on me. And I saw that, I'm like, no freaking way. And so I zoom in, and I'm like, no freaking way. Then I end up finding a video of Bill McKenna from Mattel, and I think he was doing the Brock Lesnar hands, because he had the press slam hands, and I'm like, no freaking way, they're bringing back Hasbro's. And I showed a couple of the guys I was there with who are also wrestling fans. They were just like, what? Like, everyone was blown away by that. It shocked us all. And that was, to me, one of the coolest things ever. It's like, wow. And now, here we are in 2025, a bunch of companies are doing retros, and probably more than need to be, honestly, but a bunch of companies are doing them, and it's huge. It's huge business. Do you think we'll get that with LJN? Do you think more and more? I mean, I don't know why more companies wouldn't do this, especially with a talent that's never going to be made. I know Rush Collectibles has thrown their hat in. They're going to do this style, and they're starting with Roadblock. Now, a lot of people question that, but what other company is going to make a Roadblock LJN? Probably none. So, to me, I think that's cool. If he can get it out in a timely manner, of course, I think that would be awesome. And I think Latuni's also doing a lot of these. Not necessarily ones that I've picked up or thought about, but I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. You're doing like an ultrasonic Macho Man where he looks like Cyclops. Makes no sense, but it does kind of look cool. But again, I think a lot of us will have to vote with our wallets. The LJNs from Mattel will obviously be kind of the standard, I think, moving forward, just because of the price point. And they also look really good. The packaging is so similar. It comes with the poster. It kind of hits all those key points in between. I've already kind of told people I'm going to be a Double Up Club member. I plan to, at least as of right now, get all of those mint on card in all of those to open for this channel, because those will definitely be open for the channel. But again, it's going to be different for everybody. The big rubber guys, I don't think are going to go anywhere, and I think these guys are fantastic. I love how these turned out. I think getting Ethan Page in this line is really, really fun. Obviously, Danhausen, I have him as well. He's available now. But I am, unlike most of you guys, I'm guilty of having to pick and choose, and I feel like with this new AEW line and the mascots and everything else, and them still doing their regular lines, I can't get it all. So it's looking like I'm probably not going to pick up Hangman Page, Timeless Tony Storm, or Will Ospreay. But I think there are some AEW guys I will get, but I think I'm going to have to pick and choose on those. But what do you guys think? Obviously, with AEW, including the shipping and stuff, it does get a lot more expensive. So I think Sting's a definite for me. I'm sure it is for most of you guys. But the rest of them, I will have to pick and choose. But that's just kind of the nature of the industry, right? You can't buy it all, unfortunately. I would love to, but that's just not feasible, as always. But yeah, All Ego Ethan Page, awesome big rubber guy, perfect addition to the collection, and to me, he looks like he's ready to step in and wrestle all your LJNs, because you got to bring home all the action to get more satisfaction, as they say, of course. Of course, you can pick up, I believe this is actually still available on CollectMajor.com. I'll throw that up there if it's still available. I believe that it is. A lot of them still in stock, so get them while you can. And thank you guys very much for checking out the TB Toycast YouTube channel. Check out some of my other videos. Last week I had a bunch of fun ones, including the Green Ranger from the Playmates Power Rangers Reignition line, Tugboat from the Mattel Elite Legends Greatest Hits line, and then, of course, the Blue Lantern, Kyle Rayner from the DC Multiverse line. Really, really fun. This week has been also really good. Hastel Toy, a good friend of the channel, Mitch over there, with his Coco Beware retro figure. Itchy and Scratchy from the Jax Simpsons 2.5-inch line, which is really fun. And then, of course, All Ego himself, the NXT North American Champion, All Ego Ethan Page for the big rubber guys. Really, really cool stuff. Also, check out my other shows, What's on the Pegs, every Saturday, and Tales of the Toy Box, dropping a new episode every single month. Episode 4 just went up, all about the Toy Biz X-Men, so check that out as well. Also, check out the TV Toycast podcast, dropping every Thursday. We have a new episode. We have a different main event, as well as diving into all the news and happenings of the toy world at that very particular time. So very, very fun. Check that out with me and Travis every Thursday, wherever you get your podcast. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you guys for checking out the TB Toycast YouTube channel. That's All Ego Ethan Page. And we will see you in the toy aisle.
Yeah. One more time. It ain't over till I say it's over. So lock the cage up, cause this is a takeover. The wait's over. If this the final time we meet, then you'll be on your back on my feet. Then I'll tip the cage over as a hangover. I'm super fly so I can splash off the top. And I can shut down the shot.